pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Poland,
Here.
Hofstadter,
Here.
Kahn.
Here.
It's like Hoffy is out, Shoemaker is out, and Vaughn.
Here.
Thank you. May we have a motion to excuse Bob and Kelly from tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
Poland, Kahn,
Aye.
and Vaughn.
All right. Thank you. Good evening and welcome. Do we have any visitors at West Stress Council tonight? If you do, I appreciate you stepped up to the mic and stated your name for the record. And by using the mic, we'll have a better understanding of what is spoken. May we have a motion to suspend the reading of the minutes?
A second.
Poland, Kahn,
Aye.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
and Vaughn.
Any additions or corrections? May we have a motion to pass?
Make a motion to pass Con.
Second.
We'll go Vaughn. Kahn,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Poland, and Hofstadter.
Aye.
Thank you. Bill Resolution 2023-21. Are there any questions on the bills this evening?
Nate, the bill for Buckeye pumps for rehabbing the clarifiers, was that scheduled or was that
Yeah,
an
that was
emergency?
part of the capital
Okay.
improvements plan for the
Okay.
year. Those are the old clarifiers. Get those back operational, give us more capacity for storm events, things like that.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions? May we have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Hofstadter,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Poland, and Kahn.
Aye.
Thank you. Chief?
The only thing I have is just a reminder about Saturday evening, the truckers price coming through town. Probably 6:30, 7 o'clock, we'll keep traffic flowing as much as we can. Get them through town, they'll be coming from the east from Berlin, going out to the fairgrounds. The other thing is just to let council know, we still have our people in training, everything seems to be going good. Hopefully by October, mid-October, our last dispatcher will be good to go work on his own, and we'll be able to move the dispatch back into 8-hour shifts. My last road position, I'm still waiting on Opata to give us the green light, so he's still training. But until we get the green light for him to actually work shifts and start doing things a little bit more thorough, we're holding up on him. So it's been 2 months, I have no idea. I've emailed him twice, and I keep getting told they're getting inundated, and they'll get to it as soon as they can. So whenever he gets cleared, then we'll start being able to let him do things a little bit more on his own, get him going. So other than that, I don't have anything.
Thank you.
So Chief, you're up to par with patrol, once you get that approval.
Yes.
And then as far as dispatch, you're up to par too.
Yep.
So.
Yep, we'll be full staff. Hopefully at some point I can get my +1, and then be able to put the
Okay.
captain and Jeff Lay into more admin role. But as of right now, once I get Hunter out on the road, then we'll be full staff.
That's great.
Nate?
All right, the design review ordinance and guidelines have been finalized, I believe. We're finally ready to put that to bed. We are having McKenna Van Kuren take pictures. In the guidelines, there's a section that gives a description of each architectural style for the different buildings in the downtown. And so we're having her she's a photographer, she does a really good job. She's gonna take new pictures of buildings that represent those styles for the guidelines. So hopefully, the way we had a meeting last week to finalize all this, I would anticipate getting those from her in the next week or two, I'm thinking. And then hopefully we'll have some to design review board and council very soon. We talked about posting it on our website for residents. Anybody wants to take a look at the draft, see see what we've been working on. They can feel free to comment on it as well. The storm sewer project, we're kind of at a standstill. I've got some different pictures here you can take a look at, just representative of the conditions they're dealing with. So in a nutshell, the original elevation of the proposed storm sewer, I think we talked about this at the last meeting, to get to that depth wasn't possible. The soil, just as you'll see in the pictures, it was just junk. There was no bottom to it. So it had to raise, or actually lowered the west end of it, because believe it or not, by the creek was fine. The further away we get from the creek, the worse the soil is, which is completely counterintuitive. But anyways, because of the size of the pipe, the elevation of the existing gas and fiber optics that run parallel to the trail, as well as our sanitary sewer on the east side of the trail that runs parallel to the trail, we're gonna hit every one of them, conflict with them. You can't do that. So, called in the engineers. What they came up with was to come back to just off the east side of the trail, set a new manhole there, bring the pipe into that elevation, the bottom of the manhole there. And then it's a drop manhole, so typically manholes, your inlet and outlet are close to the same elevation at the bottom. This is gonna be a drop manhole, meaning that from the east, the pipe will come in up high, and the west will outlet low. And what that's gonna allow us to do is get over the sanitary sewer, so we don't have to reroute that. The problem, that changes the other manholes upstream, because they're all at a new elevation now. They were already in production, so we have to pay for those and get new bases for them. Each manhole's around $18,000, since these are big structures. They're not a typical 4-foot manhole, they're like 10-foot diameter manholes. So Rising Sun worked up the numbers. They requested a change order for $59,400. I think you all got a copy of that. I approved a previous change order for $22,500, and that was for crossing Grant Street. There was two 12-inch storm sewers that we didn't know about that we encountered that had to be tied back in, and then the additional asphalt work. Being that this one was over $50,000, that's my limit. By Ohio Revised Code, I can't approve things over $50,000 purchase. You guys have to approve that, so that's why this one's coming to you guys. My personal opinion, we don't have another option here. The horse is out of the barn. We've got about half the pipe, well, a little under half the pipe in the ground already, and we've got a big hole down there. It's unfortunate, but we're kind of in a spot where I don't think we have a whole lot of option here other than to approve it.
Will that drop base cause any problem with sediment sitting in there or not?
No, the floor of it can be poured so your flow cleans the sediment out. That pipe's always going to have sediment in it, being that it's going to constantly be coming and going as the creek level changes, so there's always going to be sediment in it. But it's actually not a bad thing to have one. We were talking, it'll be nice to have one that's accessible. We can run the jetpack right off the trail and get into it without dragging a bunch of hose.
Where this empties into the creek, will we run into problems down the road needing to like dredge around the outlet or anything? As the creek levels change, anything? Do you foresee that being an issue?
It could. At this point, I don't know. It'll have a head wall around it to hold it, stabilize it. It should continue to scour itself clean every time water runs out of it. It should carry water out. But like I said, it's always going to be dependent on where the creek level is. I know historically speaking, the creek is probably, 6 foot shallower than it used to, or higher, I should say. The sewer plant effluent used to come out of a bank and drop into the water, and now they're submerged all the time. So, yeah, in 30 years, it probably be submerged all the time if nothing changes with the Killbuck.
So can we have a motion to approve the change order?
Do we need to do a supplemental appropriation as well, or?
We probably will at some point. Yep. So we've got some money left in that ARPA fund. I think around 8,000, if I
That sounds right.
remember correctly. And then there's another, we put around 20 in to do additional storm sewer work. We could use part of that, but then we'll have to make up the difference out of somewhere.
I'll make that motion to approve it.
Is that Poland? Vaughn,
Aye.
Poland, Hofstadter,
Aye.
and Khan.
Aye.
The Appalachian Community Grant, nothing, no real update other than we did meet with the consultant, OHM Advisors. They were comfortable including us in the application just to get us through to where they can do the full-blown engineering. Since it does, the entire county seems to be centered around downtowns connecting to the trail. So us, Killbuck, Glenmont, Holmesville seem to be the leaders that are the communities that are stepping up and saying, yeah, let's do this. So got Tri-County Tree Service supposed to be in town this week, take down some trees on North Clay, South Clay, Diamond Alley, clean up the brush along the trail bridge and the right-of-way area there, and then also some stump removals. On Friday, Spray Foam Solutions was in town, had them level about 10 to 12 different sidewalk sections. Very successful. I was very pleased with what they were able to do. There's a few that didn't come out perfectly, but they were able to grind the high sides off. They didn't want to go too far for risk of cracking or popping the slabs up. I want to kind of sit on this a little bit, see how they hold up long term or longer term, give them a couple months, see what they look like. But it's a very nice process. They're in and out in virtually no time. They did all those spots in under a day, so I was happy with that.
Just out of curiosity, how expensive is that? I mean,
It was around 5,000
Okay.
for everything.
Mhm.
So we could do a lot of trouble spots. There's always going to be places where you just have to replace the
Right,
sidewalk.
right,
But if we can do this more, it will stretch our money further.
absolutely.
So Nate, when it comes to sidewalk sections that are
Mhm.
not even, what is the difference where we need to do something on it? Because I've had people complain, I've had a person complain to me about, an offset, they tripped over it. Then my next question is, how much time does it take to actually sand that off to where it's not even, but it's not as...
Less of a trip
Yeah.
hazard. A long time.
It does.
It takes a long time with a grinder. If you can get it close with leveling and then grind it, it's not bad. But if you try to grind everything, you're going to be there a long time.
I see.
2 inches
Two.
is what I recall, the ADA.
2 inches is also liability-wise, if somebody trips over your sidewalk and it's more than 2 inches, you've got issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Also sidewalk related, the commissioners have asked if we would consider partnering with them in the replacement of about just under 600 feet of sidewalk at the health department project along Glen Drive. They had sent me a quote for $23,988, and then this afternoon, that was for a 5-foot wide sidewalk. Their preference would be a 6-foot wide sidewalk, and that quote was $28,458. There's no hard feelings either way. They just wanted to see if we'd be willing to partner with them on that.
And we would be doing half of 28, or that's?
Whatever.
Well,
That was the total quote. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yes.
What's that current width there now?
It's probably 5 foot. Yeah.
So I assume it would go from that little
Back of the
driveway clear down to Rhodey's driveway then.
Yeah.
I
Would
wouldn't
be
think,
the frontage of that Yeah,
I wouldn't think you'd stop
no.
and, okay.
Is it gonna require any curbing work since it's not right up against the,
It is, right up against the back of the curb, which isn't ideal. I think that's what led to that sidewalk being in the condition it's in.
Are the other sidewalks up there, is it 6 foot?
I think they're 5. I would say they're probably 5.
Why do they want to have 6?
Wider? I don't know.
I assume it's gonna stay up against the curb line.
I would assume so. Yeah.
and I assume this is sidewalk we'd be looking at if it was anywhere else?
It is in the right of way, so yeah, it would be would taking those over.
And, I mean, if you look, that's really sloped towards the curb line, it needs to be replaced.
I'll make a
Now-
motion to split the cost with the commissioners for the project.
Do we have a second?
Oh, I'm sorry, you did make a motion of that? Okay, I'll second that.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Hostetter,
Aye.
Holland, and Khan.
Aye. What was the total cost on that?
20, well, if they go with the 6 foot, 28,458.
You seemed a little leery there, Mr. Khan.
Well, I guess to see it, I need to appreciate the look of it a little bit more, but, you know, if everything else is 5 foot, I don't know why we're spending the additional money on the 6 foot. That's my holdback, or hold up.
I'd be glad to talk to them. Try to keep it uniform, the whole street.
It's about $4,600 difference.
That's $4,600. Again, I don't understand why it needs to be 6 foot, so.
Another way to look at this is you stayed at 5 foot is 24,000 that we would normally be paying 100% for. If they're willing to split the cost, I mean, you can still go to 6 foot and still have half the
That's
cost.
true.
The speed study that we previously talked about, Omega is able to provide data, but they're not certified or qualified through ODOT to actually perform the study. This is for South Clay Street from basically Adams down to South Monroe Extension. Carpenter Marty sent me a proposal today. I've not heard back from Manic Smith Group at all. So I'd be fine with moving on with Carpenter Marty if you guys are still intent on doing that study. It was $7,000 to do the speed study and submit the report to ODOT.
I'd be in favor, just to get the process started.
I think we were all in agreement that we wanted to do it. Okay, I'll go ahead and get that underway. And then we had previously gotten a map to ODOT. I'll give you guys copies as well. If you can, I might need a magnifying glass to see it. Just showing where the current speed limits start and stop within town. And we've been working with David Hoffman over at ODOT to go over what they've found and what we need to do moving forward to get this cleaned up. So, do we want to go into the whole? Are we to that point yet or not?
Yeah, I think we should probably mention it. I'm, after thinking about it, after his conversation, I think he needs to dig further about that.
I agree.
That 1954 ordinance.
Yeah. So he had sent us today an email with, he had found 5 different traffic studies that have been done throughout the years, going back as early as 1954. And they all correspond with what's currently in place, other than 83 North, correct?
Right, 83 North, yeah.
83 North, so, yeah, there seemed to be a lack of information on why and how that happened.
I thought maybe Tom, since he's such an old timer, this,
See,
this,
that's 4 years before I was born.
this,
I'm not that old.
this ordinance that he found from 1954 makes it 25 miles an hour from the north corporate line on 83, what, called 76 back then, all the way into downtown. And it's, I mean, I've been here for 43 years and it's always been 35 in that amount of time. I don't know where the 25 comes from. Have you ever heard of that, that it used to be 25?
No, everything everything that we cited from when I was patrolman on, this, we said it Napa, or, well, when it was Napa, was 35 miles an hour.
Right.
That goes back to 84.
Yeah, I think we'll send him back to do some more homework because I just can't imagine that that's been 25 all this time and we never knew it.
He mentioned something, and I couldn't quite, we were on a three-way call, and I couldn't quite hear everything. He said something about the 60s and 70s not having, I took it like the best records or something like that. Was that?
Yeah,
Because it was
I
during
mean,
this
he's
conversation,
talked
he
about
said he
the
wanted to
fact
look
that
further.
there is a lack of paperwork for periods of time. And, you know, the prima facie speed limit would be 25 and it would take a speed study ordinance to change it to 25.
35.
It'd be prima facie. would be
The
there.
prima facie would be 35, yeah, to change it to 25, which there is that ordinance from 1954. But it just seems to me there must have been something after that that changed it back to 35.
Then you say ordinance, an ordinance like those,
Yeah,
but doesn't that go away once we recodify the ordinances if you don't keep it in the
Oh,
ordinances?
I never thought about that, could be, yeah.
Because we do the annual recodification, and I always thought anything that didn't make it, because we've had some issues in the past that ordinances have gotten overlooked,
Mhm,
and we had to repass those sections.
mhm. Hmm. That could be. And maybe they just figured it would go back to the prima facie of 35 if it wasn't recodified. But you would think that there'd be something, well, I don't think Karen went back that far though. I asked her to look for old ordinances and I don't think she
I don't
went.
think she
Do
did.
you know how far back she went? Yeah.
I don't know.
I wanna say, for some reason, 84 maybe.
Hmm.
That's what popped into my mind, but I can't say for sure.
And we probably started recodifying our ordinances, probably not until 2020,
Mhm.
or 2000, somewhere around there, that we did it annually. Maybe
Right.
before that, did the same.
Well, and looking at this map, we do have that one odd little stretch that I've always thought was weird, starting at Crawford Street going east. It's 35 coming westbound and 25 going eastbound. And I seem to have a memory of there used to be a 35 mile per hour sign on the pole in front of Engels that disappeared at some point.
Yeah, and they have a study showing from Crawford Street out to Briar Lane should be 35.
But not
There
on this,
probably was a sign, got hit in an accident and never
Right.
replaced, if I had to guess.
right?
I don't know.
I mean, is that something we need to replace, is
Yeah,
put a 35 back up on that
yeah,
pole?
we need,
or-
there was, this whole exercise has shown a few areas that we need signs and,
You have to
More
change the
locations.
position of some
you
signs.
know.
Mm.
The other sort of issue, you know, we annexed, you know, the fairgrounds and some property on the way to the fairgrounds, so it would be contiguous to the fairgrounds. And so I asked him the question, well, then the prima facie speed limit would be 35, and it's more than that. He didn't have a specific answer about that, but he thought that because there were speed studies that preceded that he thought that the speed studies that authorized 45 would trump the prima facie. I asked him to double check on that. So we just want to make sure there's no technical problems with all of our speed limits in town.
We going west, considering from 349 to the fairgrounds, none of that's in town.
I know, and it's
Parts of
part of it is,
Well,
and part of it
Parts of
isn't.
St. John's
It jumps
is.
in and out.
Yeah,
St. John's is. But see, most of that though runs behind those houses.
There's pieces that come up, it's very choppy. It's-
yeah.
Oh, it's just, I mean, it's a work in progress. Let this gentleman continue to do his research. Let's get the speed study done, and when we can pull everything together and then come up with a final proposal to give to ODOT on where we want our.
Well, and can you imagine the inaccuracies you would find if you would check like all over the county, all the other small towns? I mean, they've all got to be running, if someone were to look, it's got to be in every one of them.
I think probably all over the state, to tell you the truth, from what David Hoffman says. I think some attorney could make a living out of challenging speed limits
Right?
all over the state, because I think there's quite a few that are inaccurate. When I was solicitor out at Nashville, somebody challenged the 25 out there, saying that it shouldn't be there, it should be probably 30 yards away from there. And I checked and they were right. I ended up dismissing the speeding case because of that. So it's all where the speed study says, or the village says, and then where the speed limit sign is placed, and yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I mean, if they can't come up with the documentation for the county seat and what its rules are, what chance does a Nashville or a Holmesville have? You know, that's crazy.
Right.
Anything else, Nate?
I think that's all I had.
Thank you. Bobby?
Right, so the August financial statement came out, we're gonna get that by email and acknowledged. The audit report, I did include that with the packet, we also had emailed that out ahead of time, everything was favorable, everything looked really good with the audit. And our representative at Huntington is working on insurance issues for next year, so, the first one was AltCare, and this is very similar to what we've done in the past few years. So AltCare will issue a proposed renewal, probably sometime around the beginning of October. And so our option right now, we have two options. We can hold off and wait on that proposal to come in, see where it's at, see if that's the way that we want to go. A positive thing there is that the other option, the ACA community rated options, are typically much higher than what we've been paying. I think that's the same song and dance that we've had the last several years. So we're hopeful that AltCare will come back with good rates for us, and that we won't have to, completely switch gears. So option one, wait for AltCare to come in with their proposal. Or we can go ahead and jump the gun and open the Form Fire. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. That preceded me. But those are basically really thorough medical questionnaires that each person would have to fill out, send in, and then we get quotes back from all the other insurance companies. And the ACA community rates, the representative says that they come back much higher typically. So just need to kind of your direction on which way to go with that, so I can let Diana know.
I say we wait until the rates come in to see where we're at before we do anything.
I agree.
Everybody agree? Okay. And the same thing with, well, not really the same thing. She came back just today with our life insurance, our employee life insurance policy. They came back, it increased a total of $26 per month, the premium, which is really good. It's much less than what Karen and I thought it was gonna be. So if we have your blessing on that, I'll let her know to proceed and keep our life insurance with Standard.
Is that
And
total or per person?
total, yeah, they're saying total per,
26?
yeah.
Wow.
yeah, so, that's good. I think we had kind of figured when we were talking about budgeting, we'd talked about 2 to 3%. It's nowhere near that, so that's good.
Need a motion, actually. I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Standard.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Pullen. Hofstadter.
Aye.
And Khan.
Aye.
And I believe that is it for me.
You know, I would like to thank Karen for the job she's done over the years. As you saw by the audit, it was a clean audit once again. And that all falls back onto Karen and all the administration and the employees of this village for the job they do.
Yep.
So we thank them.
That's good.
Okay, on to legislation. Second reading of ordinance 2023-104 by title only. An ordinance amending zoning map, zone territory of the village of Millersburg. Are there any questions? Committee reports.
The Tree City group met last week and finished up the tree trimming in the downtown area that they had started a couple weeks earlier, and that was all done in-house by the committee members, so I got the trees along the main drag in shape, and that was at no cost to the village, so.
Old business. New
Nate.
business.
Nate, what is the status of the Jones Street utility relocation, the pole there?
That was part of the resurfacing project.
And when is that?
Still waiting on
Okay.
plans on it.
Okay. And we had also been sent a copy of that residence handbook. Do we need to have any discussion on that?
Was it, I guess, any changes or anything you'd like to see added?
I mean, did everyone have a chance to look at it? Did anyone have any thoughts or anything?
I just had a couple recommendations with Nate and I already talked about, so.
Okay.
Can we hold on till the next meeting on that? I really would like to look at
Okay,
that a little bit
okay.
more thoroughly.
Okay.
Any other old business? New business? Executive session? Visitors? Hearing none. Do we have anything else to come before council? Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Pullen. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
And Vaughn.
Have a good evening.